Wondering how to fall completely in love with the people and things that surround you at home? I've spent the last 15 years studying how and where families thrive and what relational and house characteristics ignite us with that homey feeling. On this podcast, we uncover how our brains process the people we live with and the houses we live in so we can confidently create our homes to be wonder-filled connection magnets. Ready to give up the decision fatigue, comparison hives, overwhelm ulcers, and confusion chaos? You are in the right place. I'm your host, Carly Thornock. Welcome to Becoming Home. What's up, homies? I'm so glad that you are here. I'm so glad to be here with you on this slightly cold, slightly hot day in Central Utah. And I have an amazing guest for you today. Her name is Judith Catan. She goes by Miss J to those dearest and closest, so that's what we're going to call her. Judith is a master certified coach. She's a personal stylist and a style coach. We can talk about what the difference in just a second. She's a lawyer. She's the founder of the Modern Charm School. She is an incredible person. Her values are deep and significant. She likes to help women create a legacy, starting first with their personal style and extending out into their whole lives. Judith, it's such a pleasure to have you today.
That was quite the intro. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Who's that? I want to meet her. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you are. It's
oh wait. No, thank you. Thank you for the lovely intro. Hi, everyone. Hi, podcast listeners.
No, Judith has her own podcast called Style Masterclass. And so if you want to check out the video, I mean, she's got the pink backdrop and her hair is all braided, super cute. She's like, she knows what she's doing. She's a master across the board. And today we're going to be talking about the intersection between your clothes style and your house style. And it's very similar. Wouldn't you agree, Judith? Do you think that, or maybe you can disagree? What do you think?
No, actually, I totally agree with you. And we kind of chatted beforehand that like our clients think similarly, like their struggle to kind of carve a new identity for themselves. So for you, it's like in their environment. For me, it's sort of in their closet, also their environment. And it's kind of fun to be part of that transformation journey for our clients. I know that you feel the same way. You use the word delicious. I was like, oh, we're going to have so much fun. So yes, I totally agree. I think there's such an intersection and overlap because you're imagining something different for yourself, which is no small feat, my friends. If this feels hard for you sometimes, there's a reason why.
Talk more about that. What's the reason? Why is this so hard for so many people?
There's a letting go process. And I think sometimes we watch these beautiful movie montages, right? Like we watch all those home makeover shows and like presto, changeo, half hour later, there's a whole new house. And like, that's not real life. And even in a makeover show, like whether it's clothing or a house or a room in a house, what we don't see oftentimes, and I say this all over the world, we never see the mess that has to get cleaned out first. We don't watch the boxing and the removal of the 500 books that you never read and are never going to read. We don't watch you remove piles of toys from the room. We're not watching the woman try on 20 pairs of jeans with no luck before she moves to the next store. Like we never see that part of the struggle. So sometimes when we want to take on a makeover process of any kind, there has to be a letting go of what we think it's supposed to look like. And all the stuff we've been holding on to that was part of that past identity as we start to carve out this new one. So it's not for the faint of heart. It's totally not for the faint of heart, but I think rarely is that talked about, like those little parts of it.
It really isn't talked about. And it's unfair. It's it's an artistic representation, I guess. And I love a makeover show as much as the next girl, but to see somebody pull up to a house and they're like, oh, 3 days in a Disney vacation and I've got a new house and I'm a new person. It just doesn't work that way. And when you watch Stacy on What Not to Wear and they take all their clothes out of their house and they line it up in these racks and have them stand in 360-degree mirrors and presto changeo, you're a new girl. It isn't true to how the growth that needs to happen in order for you to be the person who's comfortable in the new clothes or to live in the new house. Do you feel like there is a intersection of doing this work at home versus saying like having somebody come in and do a closet makeover for you and like, surprise, new closet. How do you need to be involved in it?
I think you have to be involved in the process. I call it slapping a cute outfit on you. So, I mean, There's plenty of folks out there who will slap a cute outfit on you. And I love that they do that work in the world. Some folks just need to slap a cute outfit on you and roll.
Sure.
For most of us, so that we don't feel like we're wearing our mom's clothes or somebody else's clothes, we have to be an integral part of the makeover process, or it won't last. We're just slapping cute outfits on people and rolling, but then we're leaving them with their, janky thoughts about themselves. We're leaving them with no tools to continue the work after we've gone. And I feel really passionate about my clients not needing me forever. And I think sometimes they're like, wait, but like, don't you want your clients with you forever? It's like, I'm obsessed with my clients. As long as they want to roll, let's roll. But also, I want to make sure you have the tools so that at a certain point, you don't need me. That you're in the dressing room alone and you're like, here's what I want. I trust my own opinion. I trust my own taste, my own style. When you go to buy something for your home, not having, to like, Carly, is this okay? I don't know if your clients do that to you too.
Totally.
Right? Like,
yes. I feel the same way.
Is this okay? It's like, well, what do you think? And like training our clients to be an integral part of the process. So at a certain point, they can stand on their own 2 feet with all the wisdom, tools, knowledge they need to carry this work on forward, because your taste and preferences are going to change over a lifetime. So our goal is to teach you the tools so that you can recreate the makeover process for whatever season of life you're in, whenever you're ready. But you have to be an integral part of that process. You have to learn the tools and absorb them so that you can recall them when you need them. This isn't just like, we're going to slap some pillows on your couch and I'm going to slap a cute outfit on you and then me and Carly are out. Like that's not how real makeovers happen. Yeah.
Yes, it is a grueling process. And there's lots of like feelings. I was going to say tears, happy and sad usually happen. But a change never feels good. It's not comfortable, at least in my experience. What's been your experience in leading your clients through this discomfort of change that they really are invested in and want?
I think we do what we call Awareness Week, the first week in my program, Style Masterclass.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to come. This is so
I mean, like more the merrier. It's so fun because in Awareness Week, I just have them take a picture of what they're wearing every day. If they're comfortable, some of them are like, I don't want to take a picture. I'm like, well, just look in the mirror, and we do different practices for different people. For the most part, take a picture of yourself. And I'm like, it's not for me to judge. I'm not fashion police. I just want you to see how you're showing up every day. Like, let's just raise your awareness level of how you've been showing up. And I want you to check in, like, is there any discomfort? Is anything in your clothes like crawling up your crotch? Do you have droopy drawers? Like, what's happening? Let's take a look. Let's just be in our body and feel the feelings. And it's like within the first few days, it's like, I can't unsee this. Oh my God, why did you show this to me? I was like, I didn't show you anything. You're showing yourself what's always been there. So like, if you knew there was a need for a change, now we're really looking at the facts. Like your clothes, some of my clients, their clothes are really stained and they just didn't notice. Their clothing hasn't fit them. I have one client, I adore her. She will be in my memory forever. She had just retired. She was in her mid-60s. She had these beautiful suits, but she retired, so she stopped wearing her suits. So she's only wearing these t-shirts and these capri pants that were like 4 sizes, and I'm not exaggerating, 4 sizes too big. And within the first 2 days, she was like, my clothes are too big. And I was like, yes, ma'am, they are too big. Like, why are we wearing clothes that big? And she's like, I don't know. I didn't even know. Like, that's like what keeps like, I didn't even know. So spending some time just in your environment, whether it's in your closet, your clothing, your home, and really starting to raise your level of awareness, like looking around and being like, what's not working for me anymore? That's the first important step of every makeover process. Like, what's no longer working? Like, how bad is bad enough before we're going to make a change? Like, oh, my friends, like, how bad does it have to be in your undies drawer, or your clothing drawer, or, your couch, or whatever the case may be? We have a 16-year-old couch in our house. We just moved like last year, and we've been putting it off. And my husband's like, how much longer are we going to tolerate this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm right on the edge. Babe. I think it's time. And like some of us, things have to get to a certain degree before we're willing to make a change. But if we raise our level of awareness, that change can happen so much quicker than us turning a blind eye and she's like, well, I know things need to change, but we're not specifying what.
And then we just get used to the uncomfortable that already exists.
Yes.
When I think about cleaning,
tolerate it.
Yeah. Tolerate. That's a better word. When I think about cleaning out my closet, I think like Oh, there's so much that has to be put into place. Like I'm going to have to get a lot of garbage stacks and like some sort of organization, and my kids can't be anywhere near me. And what am I going to do with the 5,000 hangers that I don't need anymore? And I'm going to drive things across town to donate them and blah, blah, blah. Like I've made the process into a huge mountain. And I see this with couches. When you said your couch, it made me think of it. People are like, well, if I get rid of my couch, I'm going to have to get rid of my couch. And like, then what do I do? How do I actually pick up my couch and get it out of my house? There's this barrier to entry that really is just mental. But what are some of those barriers to entry? Yeah. That your clients experience, and how do they get through them?
My clients are overwhelmed perfectionists. So they're a certain type. They're a high achiever, and then they're also an overwhelmed perfectionist. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes they think like a closet clean out has to be like Marie Kondo style.
Yes.
Let's make a giant ass mess in our house, like a tornado went through it. There's no plan for cleanup. It's just a plan to make a big ass mess so they could take pictures of big ass piles of stuff. Like that boggles my mind. So oftentimes I have to like walk them back and be like, okay, so we can have a makeover, one small bag of stuff at a time. Like we can do like a closet clean out in 15-minute increments for a week if that's what we need to do. Like, and we're going to have a plan for when you're going to clean that shit up, because we're not leaving your house in a mess for an entire week. So one of the fun things we did in Modern Charm Schools, we do what we call a declutterathon, and sometimes they're themed, sometimes they're not. And one of the first ones we did, there was more clothing and style oriented. And I was like, the last 15 minutes is for cleanup. And everybody was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be your DJ today. I'm going to play music for you. I'm going to be your guide. We're going to work in sprints. So we do like a 10-minute sprint of like, there's one thing you know has been bothering you. Just go take care of it right now. That's like the first thing. Get a quick win. This is for all of you. You're going to do a clean out of anything. Get yourself a quick win. You know, there's some stuff that you're like, it has to go. We don't have to debate it. We could go take it off the cabinet, off the rack, whatever the case may be. Get yourself a quick win, and then work in what we call like a marathon. So I do marathons that are like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I have a great playlist in the background. And then know that towards the end of the 25 minutes, your goal is to create enough of a pile that your last 15 minutes of this hour-long of stretch of cleaning something out is dedicated towards cleaning up the mess you made. So it's bagging stuff and taking it to your car. It's throwing trash away. It's breaking down boxes for recycling. It's filing away papers because you were going through paperwork. Whatever the case is for you, my friends, just know that like we're blocking out an entire hour, not 20 days and, you know, craziness. No, we don't overwhelm ourselves. Pick your time period, give yourself a quick win, work in a longer stretch, and then always allot time for a clean up. Please do this. Do yourself a favor. And this is going to lessen your barrier like to entry and doing this on a regular basis, making this sort of part of your lifestyle. Part of the problem is we make such a big mess, we never want to do it again. And that totally makes sense to me.
That's beautiful. That's great. Leave time to clean up. It's a very simple solution, but I think that solves so much anxiety ahead of time. Okay. Yeah. You're welcome. Everybody, you're welcome for introducing me to Dude.
We love you.
Now all your problems have been solved. Okay. One thing that you talk about that I love is janky panties. Can you talk to us about janky panties and our underwear drawer and what this means for us as a person? Have the floor.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love talking about this. It's become a thing too. So like I meet people in person and they're like, I threw all my janky undies away. I'm like, cool. Now you want to see them? I'm like, I'm good. Like people save pictures on their phone of like piles of underwear to show me to prove. And it's so funny because I'm like, I have this weird club all over the world of like women with piles of underwear in their phone. Like it's just so fun.
Dedicated to you.
Dedicated to me. Yeah, exactly. It's super fun. So the idea was born of like the idea of the quick win, right? Where can we get you a quick win? And was transformed over time of all the thousands of women I've coached about their janky panties. And what I mean by janky panties is underwear that has like holes, stains, elastic shot, all kinds of manner of just fun stuff that happens to human bodies in their undies. And it's just like piles of them and piles of them and piles of them. And when I recognized over time that there was sort of like these categories of janky panties, depending on where women were with their own self-love, self-care, you know, like paying attention sort of journey to themselves. And like, I found that women who were wearing underwear that were too small, which is a lot of women. So anywhere right now, if your undies are too small and you're being like squished to death, my friend, we can't see you. Please go take them off. Go get more comfortable panties. Like you have our permission. And it was just like this idea that I don't want to be a bigger size. And God forbid, I should have to get a larger panty size because of all this means about me and how I failed a weight loss journey, or I failed postpartum, or I blah, 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 blah. And that was really heartbreaking to discover. But then once we started talking about it really in public, then all the messages started coming in. Oh, that's what's happening for me. It's like, okay, now you know, it's not just that you're not bothered to buy new underwear. It's that what you're making those mean for you, right? So think of any object in your house and why you have chosen not to get rid of it, probably because the meaning you made around it. And then we have our gals whose undies are way too big for them, like giant. And you can see it. And I'm like, what's happening with the crotch of your pants? Like, how are your underwear fitting? What's going on there? And it's like, oh, and then I hear all these really interesting stories about how they lost weight or they put on muscle or any number of things happen to their body. And they were so afraid of not having what they needed on hand. It's like real interesting kind of scarcity.
Wow.
Because they were holding on to these underwear that clearly were very uncomfortable, didn't fit them, were way too big for them because of fear of what might happen in the future. And some of you probably have objects in your house. You're thinking the same damn thing, right? If you're a baby boomer, oftentimes, and my grandfather was of the era, post-World War II baby, he would collect the weirdest the weirdest stuff, y'all. We actually started an oven fire in our house because we didn't know he was saving oil and pans inside the oven. So we turned on the oven to preheat it, and he started a huge oven fire. So like, you know, folks do strange things for their reasons, but for any of you who are holding on to stuff, I don't want you to beat yourself up. I just want you to understand why. And then we have our last category of just straight up janky. Like all their undies are period panties. Like everything is just shot to caca. This is like, I hate using, I'm trying not to curse. So I'm really trying really hard. So I'm saying weird stuff, but that's why I'm really trying not to curse. Like they're just in really bad shape. And how did we let it get to this stage? Well, somewhere along the way, you stopped paying attention to yourself. Somewhere along the way, you didn't even think you were good enough to buy a pack of like Hanes or Jockeys. And no diss to those actually fit really wonderfully for some of my clients. It's what you can afford. Like you really had such little self-regard that is like it didn't even make it to the list. It wasn't even the bottom of the list. It didn't make it to the list. And so many of you, there's something in your home that's probably that way. It's not even on your radar until you really start to raise your awareness and look around. And I think a panty drawer is a perfect place to start because it's such an insight to your heart and mind, like what's going on with you and how you're caring for yourself or not, how you're taking care of the items that you do own or not. Like, is everything just shoved in the drawer and it's so brimming full? Or are things a little organized? Are we at least folding our panties? Like what is happening in there? It's such a great insight to the wider world of you and what might be going on for you.
And how empowering to look at that and then to change it according to your own standard. And panties are so fascinating because nobody knows except for you. This is an only for you kind of thing. And of course, experts like yourself, Judith, could probably look at somebody and be like, your bra, that's a weirdo bra. That's a weird some underwear going on. But like for the majority of people, we don't really have an insight to your supportiveness or digging inness to your underwire or any of that. Just such a cool insight into how you, on the very inside of you, think about, care for, interact with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's the things that are sitting closest to your heart, to the most precious parts of you, we'll just say. And it literally, no one has to know. I have some clients, I love this part of the journey too, when we do bras and undies shopping is like, but somebody like if I get all lace or like racy prints or whatever, like they're going to know. I'm like, I promise you, no one's going to know. Like, unless you want to go telling people, which you do, you boo boo, but for real, it's like, no one really is going to know. Like, this is the best secret between you and you. And it's a great way to reestablish a relationship with yourself by just taking a foray into maybe some more exciting undies that you hadn't considered before.
I love it. I love that. I've been thinking a lot lately just about this take a chance jump that sometimes feels like a leap of faith. This, like, I have a preference and I'm going to stand up for it and I'm going to go all in on my preference. And of course, my brain goes to house stuff like the backsplash tile you choose or choosing something other than grayish for your walls. But I know that this applies to wardrobe as well and your own style choices. How do you recommend people find something that they can jump 2 feet into that might feel like a big risk? People talk about it in terms of risk or like a resale value or like being confrontational or something like this. But to me, it feels like taking a stand on what you like and showing yourself to the world, maybe vulnerability. What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, I love that you use those words all interchangeably, because I think that's the first starting point, is like the way we talk about it sometimes is so adversarial. Like, you're taking such a risk. Have you considered the return on your investment? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, can we chill? We're like talking about painting some drawers. We can paint them a different color. Like, you need to chill. Or clients, when we do lipstick. That's like sort of a first starting point. So we had this really fun red lipstick class in January. And what was so interesting is like, this is such a great place to begin to play with color and to get used to having color, bright color near your face. And it's such a low barrier entry. We can wipe it off. If you really hate it, wipe it off, put some chapstick on. No one will have to know what just happened, right? And I think sometimes, like maybe in the house context, like we could play with paint and not make it this huge ordeal, y'all, right? Like, we get to incorporate color. And I think sometimes like incorporating like color, print, pattern, playing with things, is it doesn't have to be we wash our whole room in something. I think sometimes we're so hyperbolic because we have all this language. It's so weird, like return on investment, and is this just super risky? And that's a bold choice. And it's like,
Yeah, the bold choice one.
right, it's a bold choice. It's like, it's a throw pillow. Can you like
The
calm
belt.
down?
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
It's a belt. Can we just chill collectively? So I think sometimes like if we stop talking about it that way and we're like, I'm just gonna play. And I'm gonna play in a small scale. And if I like it, then I can bring more of this in. But allowing yourself like the gift and the pleasure and the joy of like small scale change and basking in that, really testing to see if it's something you would like to bring it on a larger scale, then you can play. So a lot of times we start with lipstick. And I say, hey, just start with some chapsticks if you're not used to wearing anything, so you get used to something on your face. And then let's do a pigmented chapstick. I have a client right now. Big shout out to the other Miss J. She knows who she is. She's doing tinted like Burt's Bees chapsticks right now. She's like, I just want to get used to a little bit of color. Right? You have it right there. Perfect. Like,
exactly.
It's a great place to start. It's super awesome. And then, maybe a lighter lip gloss, and then a lip gloss with more pigment, and then moving to a lipstick, and then maybe you want more saturated color in your lipstick or different hue. And like, we can ladder your your lipstick and your chapsticks up to something that's really, really bold. I put in air quotes. When and if you're ready, and halfway through the process, be like, hey, I am a clear lip gloss girl. And you just chill there, mama. You get to decide, because it's about your personal style journey, not what the world's telling you or bold choices or whatever craziness people say.
And don't you feel like the people pushing for like, be bigger and stronger and bolder? I mean, there's a way to do that. And you and I are both like, be bigger, bolder, and stronger. It's like part of our messaging, but there's a way where it's like, buy my stuff and then you'll be better. And then you'll know you fit in and then you'll be great. But it's like the same messaging is happening through an aligned, collected, personally directed way that makes all the difference. I see this messaging in you. This is what I love about everything you say, where it's, sure, buy the thing. Sure, be bold. Sure, be who you are in the most fabulously authentic way that you can even imagine. And you don't have to.
Yeah, it's always like, if you want to. If you want to, you may not want to, which is so fun to also decide for yourself. I see this a lot with the body love thing. And it's like this pressure to love your body. And that's a journey for a lot of folks. It's not going to happen overnight, and shouting mantras at yourself isn't necessarily going to be the ticket. And I think it's like, we do this to ourselves. Like, and I love the rah empowerment. I'm here for it, for those who are receptive and are ready for that. For some of us, it's just like, I need to acknowledge what is, and then maybe work on accepting what is, and then maybe learning to like what is, and then maybe I'll get to love eventually. So like, we want to meet people where they're at. And for each of you listening right now, that's going to be totally different. So some of you are like, yes, I'm ready for bold color and we are here for this. Some of you are like, I would like to change up this one thing. I hate that lamp. And we're like, cool, you start there too, boo. All of it is welcome and honored and equally valuable.
Yeah. Yes. It's so fun that when you're in tune with your body and you know kind of where you want to go or where you want to play or explore, those changes do come more naturally than you might think at the outset.
Yeah.
Because it just becomes like, oh, maybe I'll experiment with a new necklace or change out my earrings. I'm a one earring kind of girl. Judith,
Okay.
it is totally my my confession to you today that I wear like one pair of earrings for 7 months and then I'll change them out.
I have a lot of clients that way. Like we have their dedicated daily set. And I'm like, cool. Like whenever you're ready, maybe we layer on an extra necklace to your dedicated daily set. And let's just see like how you feel. If you like it, if you hate it, we don't do it tomorrow. No big deal. Like, so I have a lot of clients who like, they have their earrings, their necklace and their bracelet and their ring they wear every day. And it's like for years. I'm like, cool. Do you like each of those pieces still? Yeah. Then you get to keep wearing whatever you want.
There's no outsider expert who's going to come in and be like, you need to wear 6 bracelets and 4 earrings switched on the 4 dailies. I don't know. There's no rule.
Yeah. There really are no rules. We've been taught that there are a lot of rules, so it's a little hard to unlearn that whole idea that there's like categories and paradigms and there's certain style types and you're classic or you're bohemian or whatever they tell people versus like you're a category unto yourself. You are your own best expert. You're your own best personal stylist. I'm going to teach you some tools to make that a little bit easier on yourself every day. But at the end of the day, you know better than me what feels good on your own body.
Yes, ma'am. Amen. Glory. Hallelujah. That's so good. So a lot of what you teach too goes back to how we want to leave a legacy. We want to be women of influence, not in like the influencer kind of way, a coercive influence, but women of legacy who leave something substantial behind for ourselves, our children, the world at large. How does style with our clothes play into that?
I kind of think of it as like the first floor. So, and I talk about my program Modern Charm School. I think you touched on a little bit. Like we have this vision, and eventually it will come to fruition. But the vision is like a really cool Art Deco building. And since you have,
I love this vision. Keep going.
You have a love of real estate like I do, right? Like there's a beautiful Art Deco building, and I just want you to imagine like the first floor is dedicated to style. Like you come in, and we're going to get you dressed. We're going to get you feeling more confident. Teach you some like ways to tap into your own, intuition and knowing what's right for you and like building up those skills of self-trust and this relationship with yourself, building up your confidence. And style is a conduit to like bolster your confidence. So that when we go to the second floor and we start to talk about wealth, you already have a meta skill of trusting your judgment, of decision-making, of listening to yourself, of researching something, paying attention to something. And then when we get to the next floor and we start to talk about gumption, like leading with gumption, which is initiative, determination, courage, like reaching goals, you have an even more meta skills that you've built through this journey. And then when we get to the top floor, which is legacy, you modeling for the other women around you, whether it's in your church, whether it's at school, whether it's at work, whether it's you as an entrepreneur, just in your own inner family circle, you showing up fully confident in what you're wearing, you fully confident in receiving compliments, you fully confident in making decisions and having a voice and taking up space. When you start to show up that way, there is a delicious ripple effect because all of the women around you, all the humans around you for that matter, are taking a cue from you. And you're literally modeling for them how to show up in the world as someone who's confident. And there's a legacy of your knowledge, your tools, your skills, your experience that you get to pass on by just being more of yourself when you enter into a room. And that's priceless. So all of us are legacy builders. I totally believe that. But part of what we do is we got to reflect on like, what am I leaving behind? And is there somewhere that I would like to tweak whatever messages, whatever experiences, skills, tools, knowledge that I'm going to pass on? Like, how do I do that in a way that's super intentional as opposed to just sort of living by default the rest of my days?
Wow. This feels like a living legacy, not one that you have to wait until you're dead to appreciate. This isn't one of those, the artists that only are known 50 years after their past. This is like, who am I going to affect today in the grocery store who doesn't even know me? But by the way I carry myself, by the intentionality and alignment with which I live, they will be affected. And I am inviting them by my knowledge, my knowing, to then know more about themselves. That's awesome.
Yeah. A lot of my clients come to me because there's a woman in their life. They're like, she's so stylish and she just owns it. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean by she owns it? Like, what are you tapping into? They're like, well, she's like, and it's funny to me because like, she's even plus size or she's really tall or, I wouldn't even say she's like the most beautiful woman in the world, but she carries her. Like, there's something about this other woman that they're seeing that's attracting them. And I'm like, guess what, friend? Like if you spot it in them, this is something my coach told me that had a profound effect on me. Like if you spot it in them, it's because you carry the seed of that in yourself. Now I'm paraphrasing her speech to me, but that was the message takeaway. And I'm like, imagine if you could be that for all the other women in the room. You're the woman that they go home and talk about, like, oh my gosh, did you see how she showed up today? And not in a catty, gossipy way, but like, I'm so inspired by her. What could I go create next? What could I go do next? Like living legacy. I love that. That's such a good phrase. It's so good. Yeah.
I'm so glad you thought of it.
I use like that. I love that phrasing though. Absolutely. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the difference between a personal stylist and a style coach. I get this question a whole lot too, like, what's an interior designer and what's a house coach? And we both are graduates of the one true and only life coach school certification program, where there is a big difference between learning about the thing and then your mind around the thing, how you're thinking about the thing. So how do you explain the difference between a style coach and a personal stylist?
Well, for me, like a stylist will sometimes they shop for you and they'll pick out an outfit for you. And that's sort of the extent of their services. And there's some brilliant stylists out there. No diss to my style peeps, right? Like awesome. And for some folks, that's all they want. They literally want someone to pick out an outfit for them, help them arrange their closet and pick out outfits in their closet for them. And that's sort of the extent of their work. That's amazing. I like to think is like, we're not just dressing the woman, we're dressing her heart and mind is kind of how I like to say it. So like, what were you thinking when you made those choices? Why has our closet remained the way that it is? Why have you held on to that dress from 6 decades ago that you absolutely don't even like and don't want to wear anymore? Like, what's going on for you so that you don't have to keep coming back to me? Like, this is part of what we had talked about earlier. Like, you don't have to keep coming back to me to help you create outfits. I'm going to teach you how to tap into your own heart and mind regularly so that you know how to create an outfit for whatever season you're in. So you decide to retire, you get to reinvent your identity for that season of life. If you decide you're going to have children and you were kid-free before, then we get to redecide, like, how do you want to show up for this season of your life? I have a client right now, she's like, rich mom energy. I was like, oh, what is that? Tell me more. She's like, that's how I want to show up in this season. And she's postpartum and like, that's a thing for her. And I'm like, I love this. Tell me everything. So, and, you know, she works, she has a business and she's a mom, she's got 5 kids, 5 kiddos. And it's just like such a fun phrase. So like the idea is I'm not just going to do a one-time service and leave you to your own devices. My job is to give you tools for thought management, tools for outfit creation, like practical as well as the internal piece, so that you can replicate the results that we create together over and over and over and over and over again.
I don't know how you could go back. I mean, once you know Judith, you can't unknow Judith, everybody. And I was looking into your programs, I noticed that you also give like, I would call them mood boards. What's the fashion equivalent? Like a capsule wardrobe?
You could say mood boards, you could say capsule wardrobes. You have some people who say lookbook, capsule collections, like
love it.
Yeah.
You do this. I mean, this is a service that you provide, but when I see the expansiveness of what you offer to your clients and the experience of working with you and the transformation that a woman goes through in understanding all these levels of the Art Deco building, which I'm totally on board with, it's phenomenal. It's unreal. And like the lookbook, the what should I wear part of it is such a small slice, but it's such a beautiful lens with which to view all the rest.
Yeah, exactly. It's the conduit to their heart and mind. So we can sort out this little piece for you. It unlocks so many different areas. And my clients who've been with me for years, I get to see them, like, we started with a style transformation and then they went on to build businesses. I had one client in particular. She was just so uncomfortable in her clothes for a really long time. And she was an employee. She's a physician, but she was employed by other people. And like when we started to see her like clothing transformation, and she was like, oh, but I could go into business for myself. Like I could actually start my own practice. And I was like, tell me more about that. Like, what would you like to create for this next season? And like, I got to see like the style transformation lead to like these different areas of her life, and everyone's results are different. But I think she's such a great example of like, when we finally allowed her to decide for herself, like how she wanted to like show up in terms of her clothes, then she looked around and was like, where else? Like the work is not done. Like, oh, and now she has a thriving clinic and she has like, she's blowing up on TikTok. Like it's just to see her transformation someone who was like, I don't know about the social media stuff. Like, she's like, so today, and like just owning it. I'm like, who is this woman? Like, she was always there. We just like gave her permission to be herself, which I think is like the underpinning of probably everything that we do.
I love it. That's so wonderful. So what's next, Judith? What are you working on? What are you looking forward to? It's coming down the chute.
So much fun stuff. We are working on what we're calling Such a Pretty Rich, which like those words are so controversial, so we chose them on purpose. We're doing a money
I love
series.
you.
Yeah, it was very intentional. We're doing a money series inside of Modern Charm School. It's called Such a Pretty Rich, and that is going to be starting in August. So that's going to be just like insanely fun. Like I have so much stuff mapped out, and I get all geeky on my class. They're like, "All right, Judith," I'm like, "But you don't understand. It's gonna be amazing." So that's really cool. And we have a live event where we're calling it the Jet Setter Society. So it's like the inaugural meeting of the Jet Setter Society, and that's in October. So like just so much fun stuff. I get to have them all in the room, and I get to hug them. I'm just so excited. Yeah.
There's something to be said for being in the same room. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Totally
Wow.
agree.
That's exciting. Well, now I want to know all those details of Such a Pretty Rich. It sounds so fun. So a wealth kind of intensive.
Yeah, it's a wealth intensive. We're going to talk about mindset. We're also going to be setting some community savings goals, and they don't know this yet. So if you're charming and you're listening, these are all sneak peeks. Don't tell your sisters. So yeah, we want to do a lot of money mindset, but I also want some practicality around this. So, some of them are going to have a debt thing they want to work on. Some of them are going to have a savings. One client in particular, Miss S, will say she's saving for a vacation for her entire family. Like she wants to take her parents on a fabulous vacation. So we're going to set some practical goals together as a community so that we can help encourage each other to have more conversations about wealth that don't feel gross or undermining or out of alignment with who they are, whatever their values are.
That's beautiful. Cool. All right, Judith, are you up for a rapid fire round?
Yes,
just a couple of questions about your house. Are you ready? Okay, first thing that comes to your mind. First thing. What is the one thing in your house that best represents you and your personality?
I think my office right now. This pink on the walls is actually much more saturated in person. It is probably one of my favorite pinks. It's called Camille Pink, in case anyone's wondering. It is seriously, we have to put artwork up. That's our next thing. And we have some velvet green curtains that finally came in that were like these emerald velvety green, like it's so good next to the pink. Yeah.
What about you comes alive with those things?
I'm looking for more of like a Hollywood Regency maximalism kind of feel for my office space. The rest of my house is actually, we have nothing on the walls, like counters are cleared. We're a little weird about that. But in this room, like color explosion. Yes. Like I'm here for this particular space. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good. Next question. What's that weird, quirky thing you do that you're obsessed about in your house? You laugh because you have one. I'm so excited.
My hubby loves to leave empty cans. I have, oh my God, I am like palpitating thinking about it, like sweaty. And they're not, and he's so polite because he leaves them in the same corner because he knows that every morning I'm going to grab my cup of coffee and go take his cans to the recycle bin, which he could have done. But I almost think he feels like it's a ritual for me. So he leaves them there for me or something. Oh my gosh. Like it's a thing. And there's only two of us in the house, by the way. Like we live in a weird giant house. There's just two humans and we sit in the same corner every day. Their giant ass house is ridiculous. So he has a little like drink collection that, and then the funny thing is he'll come home. He's like, where's my drink? I'm like, I'm just going to leave it out all day. That's gross. Like, but I wanted it to be room temperature. I'm like, oh, sweetheart. And we've been married 16 years. So we do this dance like every few months. We have the same conversation over and over again. I don't know if any of you are married a long time, but that's how we roll. So yeah.
So fun. Start hiding them around different places so you can just find them. Just little treasures. That's so good. All right. And the last question is, does it bother you if the toilet seat is left up?
My husband's very good about that. And he actually only uses his bathroom. We call it the boys' bathroom. So like I don't have to interact with him in that situation because he only goes to his bathroom.
I love that solution. Again, you're all welcome. Just have separate bathroom. Done.
That's a key to like a good marriage. That's why we lasted 16 years. He has his own bathroom and I don't go in there except for to clean it on occasion. And that's it.
Hallelujah. I love that. That's so good. All right, Judith, if people can remember one thing from our conversation today, what do you hope that they store in their hearts forever?
Start small, friends. Like a huge overhaul that overwhelms you is not required. Like find one place in your closet you want to begin. I recommend the underwear drawer. Like find one tiny place in your house maybe that you'd like to begin. Like please don't give yourself a Herculean task that will never be completed. Like give yourself the gift and the pleasure of like, what's my 5-minute win today? That's something we say in my community. What's my 5-minute win today? Go find yours.
Go find yours. If you guys loved listening to Miss J, you can listen to her for the rest of your life. And here's how. You can listen to her podcast called Style Masterclass. You can find her on judithgaton.com. And you can also, if you want to / it, you can go to Modern Charm School and find her community, you call it something so beautiful. And now I can't remember what it is.
The Charmings. They call themselves the Charmings.
Oh my gosh, the Charmings is so good. You can join, you can get inspiration. You can take her 8-week rehab your closet, find your own personal style intensive. There's so many ways to get to know Judith better. And on Instagram, you're Judith Gaton, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Go, everyone, and make a huge mess. Just a little one. Just a small little mess in the name of personal style today. Thanks again, Judith. It's been so great.
Thank you for having me. This was great. Bye, everyone.
Hey, if you're loving what you're hearing and you want to know more, I invite you to go over to carlythornock.com and you can pick up a free guide. These are the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when setting up their houses. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes. And of course, in true Carly fashion, you know, it's going to be a lot less about the house and a lot more about your perspective about the house, but with some good housey tips thrown in. Go over to carlythornock.com and you can pick up that today.